is the founder of the Marriage Forum, and her pro dating program is incredibly successful in teaching people how to find the date and relationships that they desire. And I know that Susan was just on Fox News again 2 weeks ago teaching this. Susan says that it's never too late to learn how to do this and find the love of your life. And Susan offers everyone a complimentary 1-hour private telephone session so that everyone can transform their lives and their relationships and ultimately their future. What a joy to hear all that. And with this being said, I'd like to let you know that this was a surprise to me, but March 20th is Proposal Day in our United States, and tonight we have the very best expert. You may be amazed to hear that Susan has received 16 marriage proposals that she admits to, and she will teach us how it's done. So if you want to get married, or if you're thinking of marrying again, this show is really something that can change your life and make that possible. So I'm paying attention. I have an open heart, Susan. So we'll see how this plays out.
Well, we could have gotten you 500 proposals. Oh. If I had 16, if I was her broker, boy, oh boy.
We'll see how this goes. Well, we're in happy spirits, and I get to ask Susan all these wonderful questions. So I know, Susan, that it really does seem that women want to get married more than men. Is this really the truth?
It's absolutely true. The old saying is that men are really excited about the honeymoon, and that's why they propose. In the old days, they had to wait to have sex until the honeymoon. And we know that women are all about the wedding. It's very unusual if you find a guy who really cares what color centerpieces you have and what color napkins you use, or basically any of the 12,000 moving parts that my friends in the event business have to think about. But the sad truth is that very few people know about marriage. I've been working with you guys and people all over the world for a long, long time. And if some people know about honeymoons and some people know about weddings, it is really sad that even with people who have college degrees, advanced degrees, people who've been working on themselves decades, they just don't know about marriage. So please watch all of our other shows that deal with marriage. Tonight, we're just talking about the proposal.
I'm excited. I know that there's a lot of women that say that their partner, they really want them to propose. And so I'm really curious what you have to say that's needed so that these women can actually become the brides that they want to become.
Well, it's very interesting. I just got over the flu, so I spent a lot of time at home, and I was watching a lot of Hallmark TV. Because Hallmark TV, nothing really bad ever happens. Well, there's got to be a story arc, and there's got to be some sort of drama, but truly, nothing terrible happens. And most of the shows are love stories. So most of the shows are about people getting proposed to. And if this is something that really is confusing to you, I'm always suggesting people that they watch movies, that they get that sense of what it's like. And certainly there are movies that will show you proposals, but Hallmark is easy. I mean, there are 50 shows in a month, and I think in every single one of them, with few exceptions, people are getting proposals, and they're either marrying that person or they're not. But the proposal is still there, so it's interesting.
Okay, let's explore this question. Is the key to a proposal, if it's really, in fact, truly magnetic and also meeting someone's key needs, how do we go about doing that?
Yeah. So empathy is a state which I had to learn and which Gigi always knew. But the proof is you can learn it, so here I am. And when you become very empathetic, you immediately figure out what somebody else's needs are. And the fastest way to motivate anybody to do anything is to figure out what their needs are. It doesn't matter what you want to motivate them to do. If you don't understand their needs, you're not going to be able to meet their needs. You're not going to be able to talk about meeting their needs. In fact, you're not even going to be able to appear to be interested in them. So the key is learning my 6-part conversation, and where you need to begin focusing is on empathy for your partner. And thank you, Fred, for putting that up on the screen. And what are their needs? Well, for some, it's aesthetics. They need somebody who's really beautiful. So you either are or you're not. And there's only so much that you can do even with an unlimited plastic surgery budget. Some people need you to be very intelligent. You either are or you're not, though again, you can make improvements. Here's where you can make a lot of improvements: how kind you are, how sweet you are, how nice you are, how cooperative you are. Then, no matter what you look like, if you learn about wardrobe and fashion, you can really make a difference in how you appear. And what was interesting for me is most of the guys that I dated usually were dating models, or they were dating incredibly beautiful women, which I never was. But I knew how to pull myself together, and with the right hair, the right makeup, the right wardrobe, and I had a great body, I was just lucky, then I could pull it off. So it's a question of what can you do to enhance yourself, can you do to evolve so that you become someone who's irresistible to as many potential partners as possible.
That's so encouraging for anyone and everyone,
Yes.
Susan.
And anybody can do this. I've worked with people who look like, every color of the rainbow, every possible height, every possible weight. And if they were serious about finding a great partner, believe me, they've got one today.
There you go. You can make things happen. Solution solver. I love it. So my next question is, why do you think that there are so many people that seem to not be married? They cannot find a husband or a wife.
The number one reason is they don't know what they're doing to find one. I mean, how could I get people to be so successful in relationships and find fabulous partners? How could I do that, right? And most of them I never meet. Most of them are only talking to me on the phone. Well, it's a skill set like anything else. You can teach most people to play a decent game of tennis or a decent game of golf or, do most things with their body as long as they've got, 2 arms and 2 legs and they're fairly coordinated. You're never going to make most people into a great tennis player or a great golfer, but you can make them into someone who can play the game. That's what we're talking about. You need to learn certain skills. You need to be willing to understand what I teach and see what it is you honestly don't know. So the question is commitment. How committed are you to doing what you need to do to have this particular result, called falling in love with someone who falls in love with you, and you both decide to spend the rest of your life together?
Oh my, that sounds like a fairy tale, but I know you can make it happen.
Absolutely.
So first, let's say that you have to find the right partner, and I know there are dating services. What do they offer that's different?
Well, I've worked with a client who was the vice president at a major, major dating service. So I've seen the story from the inside, because she couldn't get a date and she couldn't get a boyfriend. And she was the vice president of a dating service, and she is an incredibly beautiful, charming woman. Incredibly beautiful. And how is it possible? Because she didn't know what she needed to do. All these guys were coming into the office. She was interviewing them, but she didn't have the self-confidence to say to her boss, I'm looking for a husband, and if I get married using this service, it's going to be the best promotion you could ever have. There's nothing that's going to enhance the reputation of this dating service as much as having me, the vice president here, find a fabulous guy, date, get engaged, and get married. So her boss kept thinking, oh, I don't want you to steal somebody from our gene pool, because we have these men who are paying to find somebody fabulous, and we've got all these women. but the women weren't paying. So she wasn't really losing anything. As soon as I taught this woman how to motivate and inspire her boss, based on the fact that it was her boss's interest in the bottom line in money, we did that, and she got a fabulous, fabulous guy, got married, had 2 beautiful twins, and a new life.
A love story that worked out. Now, how does online dating site different from the dating service?
Well, online dating is fabulous. Fabulous. Because there are millions of men and millions of women to choose from. What's wrong with the dating service model is that they have very few candidates. And they disguise it by telling you they will fix you up with the perfect partner. But guess what? If they only have 20 guys at a time in your age range, is there any possibility that this is your perfect partner? Of course not. Wouldn't you rather, for a fraction of the cost if you're a guy, belong to OkCupid or Match.com, or if you're older, OurTime.com or Christian Singles, or any dating service that's aligned with you, and pick from millions and millions of people? Of course you would. Now, you still need to know how to do it. You still need me to teach you how to have the right photos up there and how to look at somebody else's photos and what are you going to say in your profile and what do you need them to say on your profile and all those other things. So please call me for a free consultation and I'll explain some of this to you in depth.
I bet our viewers are getting excited, Susan. Now, please explain what is the difference between what you offer clients so that they really can find a great partner faster and what a dating service or online dating site offers them.
Well, one of the most depressing things that I think anyone has ever experienced is when you join Match.com or one of these other places, and I joined only to look for one of my clients. That was why I joined about 3 months ago. And I didn't put a profile up and I didn't put a photo. I mean, I wasn't a member, but I joined so I could look at people in a different city from him because they don't allow you to look every place, in the same way and communicate. So I did it as an experiment. Every other day, 16 of the least attractive men on the planet Earth are in my inbox. And it is frightening. Now, if I were looking for a partner, it would be depressing, it would be upsetting. I might take to my bed and never leave it, because this is all very upsetting. But the bottom line is, this is Match.com. They've got 10,000 people who are in this category, not the 16 that show up in my inbox. So one of the key things I say is, please don't depend on the dating service algorithms, because they don't have algorithms for a face you find attractive. They may know that you're looking for somebody who surfs and hikes. You may be looking for somebody who says he earns $150,000 a year. You may be looking for a woman who says she's 5'7" and says she's 42. But what you call beautiful and what she calls beautiful is not in an algorithm. So a face that's captivating, somebody who's really alive, none of these things are in the algorithms, so don't be fooled. And that's really crucial. You need to learn how to read their profiles. And I have a whole system that allows you to really go through these profiles so quickly that in a couple of sessions of learning how to do this, you just are whizzing through to find the people that are potential partners for you.
Great experiment. You learned a lot. Thanks for sharing. Now, what is the key, we would like to know, us women, to attracting a great husband?
Well, the reason that so many proposed to me, in all those years, was that I was very clear what they were looking for, and it was very interesting to me that they were all looking for pretty much the same thing. Now, I lived in New York, and I am minus athletic. There was not a minute of my life when I ever was athletic. So I was lucky I was in New York City. because that's a place where you don't have to be athletic in order to be able to have boyfriends. In California, if I'd been young in California, I would have had some problems. But that's why I didn't move here when I was young, because I was smart about it, right? And you've got to be too. So what are the men looking for? What are the women looking for? Well, typically, men want you to be a certain age compared to them, which means around 5 to 10 years younger if they're not so old. But as they get older, they tend to want you to be younger, which is actually a good thing. It actually makes sense. And it has to do with sex drive, and it has to do with menopause. So I have no problem with older men wanting to be with women who are 15 or 20 years younger than them. It's actually a good plan. It's part of the practicality of an older husband who has a shorter lifespan, who will in fact need somebody younger to look after him. And that's just the way it is. So if you don't want to be that woman looking after him, then don't date him. It's that simple. So as you think about all the different needs that man has or that woman has, your job is to put your profile together and your photos together in order to attract that guy. And it is an opportunity for you to evolve, not fake it, but actually evolve. That's what's required.
Thank you. It all makes perfect sense, the way you put it out there, Susan. Now, I know you're speaking about common denominators. Aren't there men who really have different preferences and taste from one another?
Not really. I wish it were true. I wish it were true that humans were further evolved from our primate kin, but they haven't. We know that having a face that is even, so the left side looks like the right side, is exactly what most men and women find attractive. So that's something to really think about if you're thinking of having a nose job. The answer is yes, do it. If you can afford it, and if it doesn't offend some moral or religious principle, do it. Because the more even your face is, the more easily you will motivate and inspire people in all areas of life, in career, in relationship, and when you're lying on your deathbed. Nurses will come faster. Now, that seems to me a pretty irresistible motivation. Now, the truth is that most men like women who are thinner rather than not thinner. So that means you don't have to give up eating, but at the same time, you want to think about this because it's healthier to be thinner and it's healthier to do some exercise. So do it for yourself. Don't do it because you feel that you're a slave to somebody else, because you'll just feel resentful. Then it's all the different things you can do to really present yourself. How can you present yourself in a way that is irresistible? Because you want to look your version of irresistible. And what's interesting is if you look attractive, your own version of attractive, versus your own version of fell out of bed this morning and didn't do anything much since then, you're going to find that you have a lot more opportunities in life, and it's fun too.
And it's fun that way too.
It is.
If you feel better about yourself, that energy comes out.
Absolutely. It's a different way of living.
Thank you, Susan. Let's explore what about the woman that does pretend to be wonderful and looks great all of the time, and then what happens over time? Does the man become angry when his wife stops playing that role?
Well, it's interesting. The big problem I always had is that I never have had enough energy to do all the things that I really wanted to do. And that was really a problem. I'm lucky that I've gotten where I've gotten in life, but still that's always been an issue. So I would spend the weekend with my boyfriend, and we would get up, let's say with the boyfriend where he had a house in the Hamptons, and we would get up at 5 o'clock on Monday, and he would jump in the shower, get himself dressed for work, And we would drive back to New York, and I would go home and go to sleep. And he would be at the office and work all day until 7 p.m. that night. And I would do half a day work. I couldn't possibly function. I just didn't have the energy. And this is something that I've been amazed about for years, how there are women who can work all day long at a big job. They can come home. They can cook dinner for their husband and children or just for their children. I couldn't have done it on a bed. So the key is that I was able to do as much as I could, and you're able to do as much as you can. And people who fall in love with us, eventually they're going to find out who we are. So don't fake it for too long, but certainly put your best foot forward.
Wonderful advice. So very real. Now, how about for women? How can a woman have a great husband, find a great husband, without compromising too much?
I'm going to tell you the truth about this, which I've never heard anyone say but me. You can't compromise on love. And you certainly can't compromise on love if you're planning on marrying this person. And you certainly can't compromise on love if you're planning on marrying this person and spending the rest of your life with him or her, forsaking all others. Imagine how resentful you would feel if you were told that this is the person you have to be stuck with for the rest of your life. Think of an arranged marriage in India, for example. You don't even get your choice. Now, in this day and age, they pretty much do. But in the old days, they would see the person for the very first time after the wedding. How frightening was that? So you cannot compromise on the things that are important to you. You can give a little and take a little, but that's not compromise. You have to find a partner who meets all of your needs, because frankly, is there anything more horrible than thinking of having to have sex with somebody a couple of days each week when it isn't somebody that you want to have sex with? Can you imagine raising children with somebody who sees the world differently from you, so that you're fighting about decisions about the children or wanting to fight every single day? So think about that the next time somebody tells you to compromise. The truth is, if you're looking for somebody fabulous, you may have to become more fabulous. And I can teach you how to do that.
I love that. Key word. So if there are women who really like dependable men and other women who prefer bad boys, what is the result if they really marry their so-called type?
You can't marry a bad boy. You just simply can't do it, because even the relationships I had with them, which in a couple of cases lasted years and years, it is excruciating. That's why we call them bad boys. We don't call them good boys, right? What does that normally mean? It means that their behaviors are excruciating if you're in a so-called committed relationship with them. And usually they're not so big in the commitment department anyway, so you may feel as if the ground is sliding away from under you. I know I certainly did. And so think about it, really think about it. Honestly, for me, it was better not to marry, though I did marry other men, but it would have been better for me not to have married anybody than to marry the two guys that I fell madly in love with who were bad boys. Because I saw, after I broke up with them, I saw what it was like for the women they were with, and it was awful. Truly awful. So I dodged a couple of bullets, and I recommend the same to you.